It looks nice from the outside, but it's a nightmare from the inside. Yes, my base is definition is a boring brick. We have talked a lot about recipes and that, so we're going to look at some spreadsheet stuff that I do to plan out. So this is a spreadsheet that I have for this build. It's a copy of the Havrinsky spreadsheet. Let's make it a bit bigger. And this spreadsheet's not available yet, but if you look at the Havrinsky build, the previous version of this spreadsheet is available, so you can still use it to do a lot of stuff. Oh, there's Randy saying hi to you, Zeus. Ball cubes, I've thought about it. Super 5. It'd be an interesting build. So tier 1, 2, where basically there's a required by row, and the required by initially is the player. The player needs things to make stuff. So I need iron rods. I have 3 machines making iron rods. Iron plate, I have 3 machines making iron plate. The player needs rotors, so I have 4 of those. And then so the rotors need iron rods and screws. So then this one here is the sum of what is required here, and the same with the I'm using the rotors. I'm using the reinforced iron, so it's rod and plate. Oh, I'm using the casted screw there. So how many do I need? That's that one there. So it sort of helps you plan it all out. Norris Caesar, thanks for the alert. So this goes on for tier 1, 2. Everything that's available in tier 1, 2 is in here, and this is what I've built so far. And then tier 3, 4 is the same again. And what I really want to stress here is in tier 3, 4, you need motors. You make motors, and they require rotors. I don't touch the rotor line I made in tier 1, 2 because that's what I need to make things. So I make another production line of rotors to satisfy the requirements of the motor production and so forth. So what's going to happen now is in tier 5, 6, heavy modular frames are going to need modular frames, and there's going to be steel pipe needed and all these things needed. But it's going to require, that means I'm going to need new production lines of all those items, because all the stuff I've made up to now has been for the player, their building materials to use. I try not to make production lines of things that the player isn't going to use. And just Randy was covering up a bit of the spreadsheet there, so we'll just show closing for a minute. Thanks to the alert circuit breaker. And this is all stuff I've pre-done in a previous save, and I choose recipes not on what's sometimes it's what's available to me, and sometimes it's what's in the area, but most of the times it's what recipe haven't I used for a while, and let's do that.
You just gotta follow.
Hey Moss, thanks for the follow. I'm thinking about, in one of my future playthroughs, I'm going to do a screw heavy playthrough. I'm going to focus on all the screw recipes and use as many screws as possible. Why? Because no one likes screws and it's going to trigger them all. Sounds like a fun idea. So I've got to work out what I want to do to make all this work. And so normally I start with the top level recipes like heavy modular frames, and that then is the next thing for doing modular frames. So the steeled frame. I was doing adhered iron plate, which is iron plate and rubber, but I probably won't do that this time confession with the fail, because that requires a lot of rubber and stuff, and I don't have those. I've got to bring in packaged crude oil, and that's quite hard to be, because you have to package it somewhere, and it's a big process. So we're probably not going to do that. So in this case, if we stuck with the alternate heavy flexible frame, and well, this is a good choice. Is this the best heavy modular frame recipe? There is there's the standard one, and when I change that, all these numbers change, and these aren't direct. These are linked, but they're not linked by type, so I have to go and update all this. But the heavy modular frame is the standard one is modular frame, pipe, encased in industrial beams and screws, which is, that one is quite well because that's all base kind of stuff. If we look at the encased, heavy encased, this one could be easy to do. Modular frames, beams, pipe and concrete, all of that is all based recipes. The flexible, this was the one we had with the rubber. That's not the recipe I want for this playthrough. So we'll probably go with this alternate, with the pipe, the concrete, the modular frames. So then, okay, modular frames, I will probably use the steeled frame recipe because that's not bad with the pipe and the reinforced iron plate. So I'm going to get rid of that. I have a current number of machines row. That just reminds me of how much I've done, and I have to be careful about overclocking. If I underclock something here, it adjusts all these numbers down below. So it's good to keep in mind when I'm doing this that, okay, I need to, and the reason I do that is if this was at 100%, it's 2.66, it's hard to explain here, but in some instances it might be 3.2 machines. If I can overclock it a bit and get it to 3, it fits better in a build and those sorts of things. So we were going to go with the steeled frames, and that references making sure it modular frame, it references that modular frame. And I have there's something that might not seem obvious here. I have a primary object per minute and I have a current object per minute. This is the production line target. Sorry, I have a target number of machines and a current number of machines. The target number of machines is the production target. That's the minimum I have to have. But if I had, for instance, in this instance, I had, instead of 2.66 machines, I had 6.94 machines, then I could look here and see I'm getting 10 per minute instead of 26.5 per minute. Welcome back, Tweet. So I can, by looking at this, I can see, oh, if I wanted to steal some of this from another line, I can, because I can see I've got more machines made than what the recipe actually requires. So this was that. So the reinforced iron plate, this was the adhered iron plate with rubber. I'm not going to go with that one because that's obviously, we're going to go, I think, with the stitch plate again. I didn't mind this recipe this time around. So we have making sure once again that the reinforced iron plate, yep, that's the sum there. I'll get rid of, I don't have any machines made yet, so we're going to get rid of that. And so this needs iron plate. This is what this is, iron plate. So I'm not going to deal with beacons right now. So right now it's just that there. So I need to go, but I don't want to use the plastic. Once again, we're back to this recipe. So we've got steel coated iron plate. We're just going to go the standard plate recipe in this case. So I need 1 point, and I need to make sure I put that at 100%. And that tells me how many iron ingots, so we'll deal with that later at the end. So the steel pipe was required for the heavy modular frame. And the modular frame. Oops, get rid of that. So that should be, so it's this one here, it's also this one here, so B24. Okay, so that now tells me what I need for that. We'll probably add more to this because we'll use the encased industrial beams recipe as well. So what's missing here is wire. I don't have wire. This is the 6 giant pipe. So there's the, we're just going to go with standard recipe again with this one, and that is this one here. Yep. So that tells me how much I need of that. So we've got, so far in this spreadsheet I've done, of the heavy modular frame, I've done the modular frame, because the modular frame requires reinforced iron plate and steel pipe. So the reinforced iron plate requires iron plate and wire. So there's the iron plate, there's the steel pipe, there's the wire. I could argue and move that there or whatever. It's up to you how you, this is what makes the spreadsheet complicated. That's why the required by is helpful, and a notes section is helpful too. Just because keeping a track of some stuff, it's interesting. So back to here. So we've now done the requirement of modular frame. The next is the requirement of encased industrial beams. So encased industrial beams. And sorry, one thing I haven't explained is the target, the current number of machines. I'm just going to make 2 of the heavy modular frames. That's my target. That's what the player gets. And the target number of machines is the object total is, I'm doing a sum of this one here. I'm just, that's why I have to, if I don't put this number in here, all of those numbers go off. So by having 2, this is because of the player, this auto calculates everything here. So encased industrial beam is the next one, which is here. So I'm going to put this back to 100%, and we're going to do a it should be, there we go. So when we look at this recipe, it requires 2.22 machines. There's 2 ways you can deal with this. If I overclocked by 100 and what, 11? What happened? Maybe 12. So if I overclock to 112, then I can have two machines at 1.98. And that will help in this building instead of three machines and one of them's making a bit more than you need. I might not worry about this just yet. I don't know, what was that for? I was on the wrong one. Why did I do that? Paste industrial beams. Oh, I went 100 and went like that. Why did I go over there? I went one back to here. Well, that was the example there with the 2.22. Yeah. But what I'm saying, yeah, the 3.125 is the same here. So say 110, it brings it back down. But rather than do that now, I'm going to go through and just calculate all the requirements and then fine tune it at the end. And then that helps me work out how many machines I need to build. So the heavy modular frame, that's correct. And it requires steel beams. Now, I'd done this separately before in a different, in my other playthrough, I was calculating these items out individually for separate lines. But in this case, I actually am calculating them out in groups because of the way the tower works. So I'm actually going to get rid of this one here. This will cause some other problems in a minute. We'll get to that, it doesn't matter. But the encased industrial beam needs steel beams. So if I go back to the and the steel beams, oh, so this is this old recipe. I want to use the other one with the pipe. So that uses steel pipe. So I can go over to here and go and add this one in. This is me making notes. And then I go to here and I go and grab the next one here, which is this one here. So now we can see we're getting up to 12 constructors just of steel pipe. Well, 13. But you can see what I'm saying here about the whole working out everything first. That helps dictate what you need to build. And that tells you like how many steel ingots you need. You need 373 ingots. So we're going to get to a point in this build where I'm going to need more than a Mark IV belt's worth of ingots. So I'm going to have to logistically work that out in the game. I'm not using Mark V because that's tier 7 and I'm going to leave this build alone for that for later. It just means you have to understand how to run your belts. So this needed the pipe has been taken care of. The concrete, now I was using fine concrete in another playthrough just because I wanted to. I don't need to do that this time. I think we'll just stick with the normal concrete. I'm not doing wet concrete because they're refineries and they need water and all that, and it's just too complicated. Deus looking for pieces of his scattered brain because it just exploded. Feel free to ask any questions about what I'm doing, because this is what I sit down and do off stream when I'm planning a playthrough or what I'm going to do next in the playthrough, and I just go through and just work out what's needed, and then bang, you're done. So you can see concrete, there's some of the concrete. That tells me how much limestone's needed. So now if I go back to here, encased industrial beams has now been ticked off my list. Steel pipe has been ticked off my list because we already accounted for that. That's a lot of water. Yes, if you use the wet concrete and concrete. last but not least, I need concrete. So here also in my concrete is the heavy modular frame. And in a vertical build like this, that's sometimes not the best idea. Actually, let's do this. There we go. So now you get it. It's just that this spreadsheet is set up following a logistics. I'm making following my brain fart. So totally different layout. Yeah. So that there, wet concrete is pointless, but it makes it quicker. So it's one of those interesting ones. It depends. Doing a bank book, Rezav, how you going? G'day Andy, how you going? Just going through my brain process. So what we've done up to this point is I've worked out heavy modular frames. We'll also, while we're here, I'm not going to do supercomputers this way. Oh, do I want it? No. I'm not going to do supercomputers. We're going to leave that because they said that may change. So I'm going to delete that, which is going to break this computer production line I set up, which previously I did the Caterium computer production line. And the reason why it's all broken is because there's a missing reference here now that I just simply need to get rid of. And now it's worked. When you're planning this out, do you normally go up or down the chain of assembly? I start at the top machine. Andy, you're so frustrated now. 15-hour print was a dud. Man, I'm sorry to hear. That 3D printing stuff can be really frustrating. So it's my goal. That's what my goal is. I want to make computers. I want to make 2 machines of computers. I'm going to get rid of this. Oh, hold up. No, sorry. Yeah. So I'm going to define I want 2 machines of computers. So the sum of that is going to be this. So this will now dictate everything I need. The spreadsheet only gives me for the moment the total of ingots required to get me where I want to go. Yeah. Sorry, Trilo, is I start at the top item that I want to make, and then that dictates what's needed. And then from there dictates, oh, I need this, and I need this, and I need this. So this one, I might do the Caterium computer recipe, because I have some rubber that can be made. I have some from the power production line. I have a. If you look at my fuel sheet, I have 337.5 polymer resin available to me to make rubber and plastic. And this is going to help make some of my decisions now. When I was playing earlier, I cut up a section of this sheet here just so I could see if I wanted to make 160, so 8 machines of the residual plastic will needs 480 polymer resin. 8 machines of the residual rubber gives me 320. And back here, I needed to make 2 of these Caterium computers. I needed 90 rubber. So I could quite feasibly in my head right now go, okay, definitely I could make to make 90 rubber would be 5 machines, which would be 200 of that so far. So I'm good at that point, but I need to keep in mind that then I only have about 130 resin for to use for plastic and that. So if I kept that in mind, if I was just looking at these recipes here, I can really only make 40 plastic. That may not be of any use to me. I don't know. I've got to play with it, but it lets me dictate what I'm going to do, because I can focus on other recipes that don't require rubber and plastic, and that's what we'll get into now. So the Katerian computer, circuit board, quick wire, and rubber. So starting off with circuit boards, I'm just going to get rid of this reference. Oh, hold on, is it something? Where's the missing reference? There we go. So the high-speed connectors, because that was for supercomputers, and I'm not making them. So if I just looked at this at the moment, oh, hold on, I made the mistake. Get rid of that one there. Put this at 100%, and okay, and then so that's the sum of that. How many circuit boards I need there? Zeus, no worries, thank you. So circuit boards, as I was talking about rubber and plastic, I'm going to go the silicon circuit board, because that's copper sheets and silica, which is a really, that's going to be really useful for us. Now, this quick wire recipe here, I'm just going to slide this here. Hold on. Because we need quick wire, and I'm just going to, if I use the fuse quick wire, it makes a bit, and I'm going to use it for the computers, maybe not the circuit board, but just the computer. So that's that one there. So that's just, I just wanted to have a reference to that. I know I've jumped ahead because I was working on circuit boards, but I just wanted to move this over here, so it was out of the way. So silicon circuit board, copper sheet, silica. Okay, we know how many we need. Perfect. And rubber's the last one. Copper sheet, we need to put the copper sheet here. Now we're not using AI limiters at this point. I might do these in a minute. I'm gonna just move these. Yeah, this moves quick, the Google Sheets, way too quick. I'm just going to move them down here out of the way for the moment, because I still may make those. So the fuse quick wire, the silicon circuit board, had to turn on shop heater. I see. Welcome back, Caesar. So the silicon circuit board now needs copper sheet and silica. I'm going to get rid of this fuse quick wire because we've got that there already. We're not going to do steamed copper sheets. We're just going to do our normal copper sheets. Okay, and that's needed by the circuit boards. So I'm going to No, sorry. Copper sheet. This one here. What am I thinking about? There we go. 36 Fahrenheit here. Send me some sun. It's dark here. I can't send you any. And it just needs copper ingot. So that's easy. We're not, like I said, I'm not making high-speed connectors at this point. So we're going to delete that column. Silica. I need silica. Do I have... I have cheap silica. We're not going to do that. Although I have limestone. See, this is where it's interesting. You might think, well, if we go back here, right, and we look at concrete, we need 10 machines making concrete. But if it was cheap concrete, fine concrete, I only need 6.5 machines, and I can share the silica that I need, seeing as that resource is coming through the building. So instead of needing, if I undo that, instead of needing 405 limestone, I only need 162 limestone. So that's not a bad decision there in this type of build where I'm going to have similar things in the production line. I just need to work out where things go, because I can probably get the similar resources in the circles above and below each other. So this is a great way here. I've come back and gone, well, let's change this. And if I keep, I was doing here, or let's get rid of a few things here. We're going to get rid of the rifle cartridge. We're going to get rid of the beacon. I'm going to get rid of this one. And this one. And I'm going to get rid of this one. And so the silica is what I want here. We're going to go with the cheap silica. It's used for the concrete, the cheap concrete, the fine concrete, and it's used for the circuit board. So in doing that, I don't need as much raw quartz either. It's in this build where I have this height and this bringing resources in, I can now have 2 stations of things. This is where you can really, this is where the flexible recipes and making decisions that are relative to the whatever you're making come into play. So the silica needs to be, we go back to here, that one there, and the circuit boards here. And so with that limestone there, 111, and here where I had 162, I'm still using less limestone than I did if I stuck with the normal recipe to make the concrete. So I think that's a real good win. And it's 6 and 6 assemblers, and in a circle I can have 2 layers in the circle, so I can have the silica and the limestone all being in that one big circle to then be sent off to the next levels. So that's a really cool way of utilizing your raw resources to give you what you want without having to it's just different ways of doing things. Now what was next was we have to go backwards. So I did the copper sheet and the silica for the circuit boards. So the silica is now done. and the copper sheet's done. So going back a step, with the quick wire was for that there. So the rubber was the last thing here. Okay. So the rubber is, I'm gonna get rid of this one. We may make some polyester fabric, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm not going to worry about the space elevator parts. And here is the recipe that I wanted. Residual rubber. This is required for the Ethereum computer. So now the target is the sum of that one there. Okay, so now I know what I need, water and to make that. So I only need 4.5 machines. So I didn't use any plastic, and this stuff. Well, and this is, I haven't even done this stuff, but I haven't got packaged fuel. Okay, so this is the next step, right? Okay, let's just get rid of this and this. Get rid of this one. Now, I said earlier I wanted AI limiters. I actually do. So I'm going to put the AI limiters here for player, because they're good for smart splitters. So all I have to do is, I'm going to make just one machine's worth. Okay, so I now know I need copper sheet and quick wire. Well, you know what we do with that? We go to our, let's move this over so it's, so we go back to our copper sheet. That needed to be taken into account. There we go. And we needed the quick wire. So that needs to be taken into account. So we just go back to here. Thanks, Paul. I just wasn't sure how received it is to watch someone work through a spreadsheet. Okay, so that's the AI limiters is now done. Now we're up to the steel ingots we're going to need, the copper ingots, and possibly the iron ingots. And the Caterium ingots. This is the last part of the chain, because this is going to dictate the beginning of the build, where we build all of the ingots to build the next to build it up. So we're obviously, I'm not going to use the coke steel ingot recipe, because that just ain't happening. It sure got quieter as we're all taking notes. I don't know about that. But steel pipe, I don't think we have steel beams. I think it's just we're just gonna do the steel the solid steel ingot recipe. And remember, this spreadsheet can be downloaded. not the most recent one, but the one from Herinskia, which is pretty up to date, but this one has a few tweaks that I haven't released yet. So I'm pretty sure it was just steel pipe. Now in this situation, for my own sanity, I just do a search for steel and have a look. There's only 3 matches. There's steel pipe there, steel beam. Why do I have steel screws? I'm not using steel screws. I've still got this here, so we'll get rid of this. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's cool. So steel. So we had steel pipe, steel pipe, steel pipe, and steel pipe. The reason I'm doing this, what I should be looking for is beam. In case industrial beam, there's no steel beam, so I only have steel pipe. Steel pipe is all I have, which I bet it's that E16. Let's check. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's F16. So we need 6.21 foundries. Now we need iron ingots, and we're going to use the same again. We're going to use the let's use this one. Steel ingot. I'm using the iron alloy ingot, which is iron ore and copper ore, to generate the ingots for this. So that is a sum of that. So I need 4.9, because this will complement the copper, which is also the iron alloy ingot recipe, and we'll get to that. And that needs iron and copper, yep. But that's not the only thing. Iron plate required, I'm positive. Iron plate was iron ingot, and the way you can search for it is iron ingot. One. They're the only ones. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's 60. Yep. By the way, you're probably wondering why I have an object per minute in all of them, and then a target and a current. This is what the machine requires. It needs 40 iron ingots a minute. Overall, per minute, this is what we need for all of the machines. But this is per machine. And the reason I do this is it helps calculate to know your belt speed. Because if I said, oh, well, I'm going to overclock this to 250%, well, then I need 100 iron ingots per minute per machine. So a Mark 1 belt won't work for me there. So that's why I have all these. This is why it isn't a small amount of numbers. It's a breakdown of all the different things. And what you haven't really looked at, I won't go into, is in another one, is these 4 rows here. The second object output and how to deal with them, because that's a whole different kettle of fish. That's refineries, and using the product in all that, it really gets me confused. But when I get it working, it's easy to read, but trying to work it out sometimes, even I get confused. So the iron alloy ingot, that's done. Yeah, that's what that's for, Caesar. Well, I can show you here. If you go to the fuel page, I have the polymer resin output from the, and it's not really done much in this spreadsheet, but in others, like I count this output as my input and I use it to balance stuff out. Yeah, so that's why haven't touched it. And hey, you know what's going to happen? This spreadsheet's going to get freaking huge. Because there's going to, well, actually no, it won't. As long as there's not more than 2 outputs on any one machine, this whole spreadsheet should stay the same, to be honest. Okay, and the copper is next. We'll do the copper alloy ingot again. I really love these recipes. Okay. So we need the copper I need is before we do that, well, use quick wire, copper sheets and wire. Yep. Not just the spreadsheet is getting huge by watching this. Spreadsheet isn't all the numbers. If you look at some of my earlier spreadsheets, it used to do my head in. So this is a culmination of how my brain works over the last 12 months, maybe. Update 3 was when after update 3, not straight away, but getting into update 3 was when I started on a spreadsheet because I really needed it. Okay. So, copper alloy ingots. So I'm just going to go back here and look at what we need. Here's a copper ingot here. Here's a copper ingot here. And here's another one here. And that's the 3 of them, I think. Okay, and that's my copper and my iron. That dictates everything. And the deuterium is going to be just smelters, because there's no, I don't want to use refineries. Butchie, I've seen a lot of spreadsheets, and to me yours is the easiest to understand. Thank you. It's sure more complete than the regular calculator we find on the net. It's just how my brain works. It's hard to program something like this. I don't know how Anthor does it or any of the creators do it. But I do appreciate the compliments. Deuterium ingots. Now the reason, and I probably the reason why it does work for you guys is here's a question. I'm interested. The reason why it works is that it flows. It flows this way. I'm backwards. Thanks to the lurk, Kevin, mate. I used to have it flowing upwards and down, and it didn't really work that way because of the columns didn't work. I can kind of see a whole recipe here at a glance. That's the only deuterium I need there. Oh, okay. There's a bit of a hiccup there with the way that this There we go. So really the last things to do here, no color coding on that sheet, no praise from me, says Twig. It is bland in that sense. I will give you that for sure. So the last thing to really help us, and sometimes this is just, I'm not even going to do a lot of stuff here. I'm just going to go, oh, do I have it? I do. No. This is what I was playing with. I haven't, this is the thing I haven't fully implemented yet. I have the machines. So let's just say I have a Mark II miner on a pure node. And I'm just going to say iron. I don't know how this is going to work. You just have to bear with me. This is something I have been working on. And it's going to be, I need all of this iron ore, all of this iron ore. Yeah. So that tells me now I can get 1 miner's worth from a pure without overclocking. And what we're not seeing down here too, by the way, is the power consumption is also down the bottom here and all this stuff. And then that's supposed to, I don't know how well it's doing it, on my overview sheet, it's supposed to be calculating the power require, how much, the power required, the target. Some of this isn't really up to date. It's all of a lot of manual stuff to do, but enough to, it's still, this is the key of it. The other stuff is just you summarizing all the information. So there will be iron, copper, yttrium, and coal, limestone. Insert column. All right. And this just lets me go, okay, well, the copper is this one and this one. Okay. So here I need, well, this is where, as we love our overclocking, I could 180%, maybe 150. Yeah, so 150% overclock on that machine would give me, on a Mark IV, would give me the ore that I need to bring in. This is where the overclocking feature of the spreadsheet I really like. The yttrium. And then there's going to be limestone. Coal. We're going to need 1 extra because there's limestone and quartz. And I didn't really need to do coal because there's only 1 coal, but you know, it just helps you summarize it, because you might add something in later and you go, oh. this machine stuff is what isn't in the Herinskia spreadsheet that I've put in this one, but I haven't properly utilized it. All right, Twig, thanks very much. We'll catch you later. Okay, so limestone is a bit trickier because I have to find it. Use one of them, and use another one, and raw quartz. So I think I might turn this into a video to people to watch later. It's pretty boring, but you know, if someone wants to learn how to use the spreadsheet, this is how. So the quartz is here. Raw quartz. And there we go. So now, okay, so the limestone, what, 150% overclock. That one's fine. That one's, the coal will be, that one's 150 there. Yep. I may balance this differently with the train commentary is what makes it interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I have to think about this. All right. Okay, so look. Okay, so here's something. I need rubber for myself, for the player as well. Okay, so I might go and say I want the sum of that plus, I'm going to say 10 per minute, because that takes it up to 5 machines. And then I'm going to put the plastic here for the player. And I'm going to take, well, let's balance it out actually, because I've got 337. So like going back to my fuel sheet, this is what I have available to me, is 337 polymer resin. So if I had 3 machines, oh that's right, 2, and I could do I don't really want to do it, I just have to do a sum of it myself. 200 here, and 120, so that's 320. I could maybe try 3, but that, I know it's not gonna, it's gonna be more than I have. That's 380. I don't have that. So there we go. So there's 2 machines, and we'll sink the remainder polymer resin. Although, what about fabric? How much? Does that require? 1 machine, oh, that's 80. That's a lot. Well, what if I had 1 machine of plastic So that's 60 and 80 is 140 plus 200, 340. I've got 337. So why don't I just do of the fabric, .8, and that gives me 64.7, 56, and that should 0.8, 0.9, 72, no, I think 0.8. So at 100% overclock, 0.8 worth, and then what you do is actually you do 80%. No, that's not right. No, 0.8 worth is what I want. Yep. Yeah, because you adjust in the machine what your target output is. So, is that right? You know what? We're just going to do one and accept that there's a little bit of buffer that's going to happen, whatever. It's irrelevant. But the point is, I've used all that polymer resin up. I have plastic for the player and I have fabric for the player. Bingo. So that really tidies that up, and then that really finishes up the spreadsheet. And there are better tidier ways to do it, but I now have a goal of what I'm going to go and do. And my goal starts at the other end of the spreadsheet, where I have to get quartz in, limestone in. I think I've got enough coal, maybe. Deuterium I've got ready to go. We did that recently, but we never brought it in, so we can bring that in. The copper ingots and so forth. And then we'll just start building this stuff and work our way backwards through the production line until we reach the top where we have our computers and heavy modular frames being made. It's all going to be in the logistics of the multiple parts to make this work. But that really completes talking about the spreadsheet, and we've defined what will probably be the next 2 week stream. There's that much work there to do all of that, I reckon. Perfect.